are you, Al?
Hello, Rich. Oh, my God. How am I? Did you see that?
Unbelievable. You're talking about the seventh
inning?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. I know. How exciting.
Well, have you seen anything like that before, Al?
In an inning? No. I just, first of all, I'm a little biased. I have to admit. The 7 years I spent in Toronto, I know what those fans had gone through. Always kind of been quietly criticized as polite fans that, at the start of that franchise really didn't know baseball, but it was a fantastic franchise. The Blue Jays were from inception. When I was up there and we won a couple World Series, I remember Dave Winfield kind of politely, in a very nice way, saying, "Look, Toronto fans, get out there, cheer. You don't have to clap when you're told to clap," kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich, yesterday, you talk about just 180 degrees from that comment of what Winfield said back in '92 to now. The place was going bananas. I have seen a play like that, but never with a runner at third base, and obviously with a potentially deciding run, with Odor scoring. And gosh, would that have been awful, truthfully, if that's the way the game would have ended for Russell Martin hitting the choose bat.
Well, I mean, we're seeing some of the fans and how they did react, and I know what you're saying. They're talking about how how loud they were, and then they were a little bit over boisterous based on what we saw yesterday. Let's take a few of this at a time with the seventh inning. The ball that Russell Martin throwing back, hitting Chu's bat. The fact that Dale Scott did not know the rule and was waving the play dead at the time. How concerned should we be moving forward in the playoffs, having seen that, and then what we saw, obviously, with Chase Utley going down with the Dodgers and the Mets back in game number 2, Al?
Yeah, well, I mean, two good questions, and I'll tell you what, Rich, I think initially when I saw that, and a lot of people kind of paused because it is so unusual to have seen for a major league catcher to casually throw back to the pitcher, as you see thousands of times a night, and then not be able to get back to the pitcher and the run score. And you're right. When Dale Scott put his hands up, immediately as a player, you say, okay. You say, okay,
yeah,
dead ball. But clearly that was wrong. I think really they ultimately got it. And yes, as a result of what transpired, I think the fans, did some terrible things. And when I say enthusiasm, I don't mean throw stuff on the field. But that was incorrect. But if you look at it, and when they ultimately looked at the replay and realized that even without that, he would have scored, I think that was the judgment that was made, and that's why they went to the headsets, just to make sure that they got the ruling right. The Utley thing, initially, truthfully, I'm not a middle infielder, and I referred to guys that were there and watching the TBS broadcast. You got the Hall of Famer, great Cal Ripken, saying it's an aggressive slide. Initially, I looked at it and saying, wow, that's aggressive. Oh, my gosh, Hal McRae's clapping right now, smiling. And then we fast forward, and I just keep watching, and I listened to Harold Reynolds, my coworker, explaining that Tejada shouldn't even have been even attempting to try to turn a double play based on the flip that he got from second base behind second base. So my broad stroke, and I don't know what yours was, is that look, it's a slide, it's not a tackle, it's not a roll, and that's what Chase did. And I think that play will be the impetus, like we saw a couple years ago with Posey,
yep.
And him breaking his ankle, unfortunately, and now Tejada breaking his leg. That there's got to be some kind of rule change to say, look, guys, be aggressive. I get it. You want to break up a double play. That's what you're taught, to take the guy's legs out so he doesn't have a firm throw to first base, and you can hear a runner at third base, especially you get a run out of it. But you got to slide. You can't just plop on the bag like we've seen over the years. A few years ago, most recently, when Matt Holliday, crushed Scudero in the World Series.
Right.
So it's happened. It's part of the game. If he's on your team, you say, hey, that was really aggressive. If you're on the other team, you say it's dirty.
MLB Network's Al Leiter joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. We'll return to the Mets and the Dodgers in a moment, but before I do, I want to hit a little bit more on the American League divisional series that we saw wrap up yesterday. A lot of discussion about Jose Bautista's bat flip. And as I said at the top of the program, it is out of character for him to, it wasn't even a flip. It was a flat-out sort of Conan the Barbarian toss. We are asking on our poll question today, richeisenshow.com, if you have a problem with it as a listener. How about you as a 19-year veteran of Major League Baseball, Al?
All right, so this is going to be the opposite of what I've always kind of thought, because I've kind of got the old geezer, old fart thing going here with me thinking, play the game right and keep your head down and act like you've hit a home run before and don't show up the opponent and, don't give any other reason for them to want to kick your, what. I have to tell you, Rich, based on how wacky that 53 minutes transpired in that inning and a tie game in a tense moment, with Bautista, who is, incredible, with his home run ability, especially the last few years, and his story has been great. How it all started for him, and was a guy who went the other way and was in 4 or 5 different franchises. Eventually found a home up in Toronto. I think I kind of get it as to why the emotion part. If you watch the replay real slow, he stares down the pitcher a little bit, then he looks over to the Rangers dugout. Like maybe that was added, but I and I'm not here for that stuff at all when I tell you that, Rich. I do not like that. I was emotional, but it was solely out of just excitement of like internalizing it, like, one of those. But I think it was fringe. But based on the circumstance, I understand.
Well, I mean, I'm going to reserve the right to, as I said this at the top of the show, is that obviously you're getting caught up in the moment, but I'm going to reserve the right to see if I see a little leaguer do it on ESPN next year. Because when the NFL did away with the touchdown celebrations, and a lot of people thought, again, that's the no fun league doing it again. They did that because high school and some college, some even Pop Warner coaches were writing the NFL saying, my kids are doing this now because you're allowing your professionals to do that. I'm wondering if this fits that description, Al. You are, like I said, the darn near 2-decade veteran on this front.
Wow.
Al, so you tell me.
Rich, I mean, that's a great point, and it is about the kids. And ultimately, I was a little leaguer that ultimately was blessed and lucky enough to have played 19 years in the big leagues, but it starts at that level, and I get that. I think the difference, the variable here would be that you're talking about, full-blown Michael Jackson dance disco routine in the one guy was pulling for his cell phone, whatever that was,
right.
Like it was really getting out of hand,
yes.
I think, for, creativity. This, I think, is the danger of you're still going to have guy like Dyson on the mound and others that will take offense to it. And now it becomes dangerous. It's not just for a kid to showboat and think it's cool because he just saw Bautista do it. It potentially could be hurtful based on feelings. That's what it is, man. I mean, Dyson threw a 96-mile fastball that he tried to run it away, and it leaks over the middle of the plate, and he gives up the game-winning 3-run homer that his team is going home, and now you got a guy in your face throwing the bat, there's humans out there. What potentially could be harmful? Because that's the reality of it.
Al
He's got
Leiter,
a ball in his hand.
Sure. Al Leiter joining me here on the program. Johnny Cueto, the Cueto that the Royals had hoped they were acquiring at the trade deadline, showed up last night, 19 in a row to get. He retired to get it to the bullpen for the Royals now to play the Blue Jays. Can you go ahead and tell me the ALCS first blush? Royals versus Blue Jays, what you think might happen in that one, Al?
Well, you mentioned a guy that is so important to that team. And I think, when you think about what Dayton Moore tried to do with Ned Yost, the manager saying, hey, look, we have Yordano Ventura, who we love, and we know that the upside is going to be tremendous. But we're lacking there's a big vacuum void that's happened when James Shields signed with the Padres. And, they needed an ace. They really did. And Cueto has been that guy. He had 4 exceptional starts and then threw some really big clunkers in there, and they created some doubt. Thus Ventura pitching game 1, Cueto 2, and Volquez 3. I think, Rich, it's going to be phenomenal. Very seldom do you see in these postseasons the top 2 teams in it, and I believe these 2 teams are the top 2 teams in the American League. It's going to be something. But I will say this: I think it's going to come down to which of the aces, and David Price is still the ace. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. Is it Cueto or Price that steps up in their 2 big starts that dominate? Because after that, it does get a little thin, and I like Ventura. I like Volquez. I certainly Marco Estrada has had a heck of a year. And then Stroman, what do you say about a young kid who's come on and do what he's done? So I think it comes down to that, because we know if Cueto's able to do that, it possibly could negate one of the best lineups, certainly in recent history, with the Blue Jays of what they've been able to produce. So it's going to be a heck of a series, really.
What happens tonight in Chavez Ravine, you think, Al, with Greinke versus DeGrom? What happens tonight?
It's going to be a phenomenal pitching performance. I have to assume that, right? Greinke's had a historic year. DeGrom is really, truly emerging as one of the top pitchers in the game. It hasn't been much body work, but enough for me to see that this guy's awesome. I'm going to say, I don't know. I got the LA mojo thing going. I really do. I think by them being able to go back to LA, I'm going to predict that Greinke's going 7. You're going to see Kershaw in the 8th, and they're going to bring in Jansen in the 9th. I don't know how the heck the Dodgers scratch a run off of DeGrom, but I think it's going to be one of those epic 1-0, 2-1 games.
You think Donnie touches the left arm in the 8th inning and brings in Kershaw? Do you think that happens tonight? Going to the mound?
Would you?
I would.
This is all I'm saying, man.
That would be great.
Avilan, I like Baez. I like Hatcher. He's got a hell of an arm, but I don't know, man. If I got a chance to go on the LCS and I got Clayton Kershaw, who could give me an inning, I know, but
that'd be incredible. Incredible. And but last question for you, Al. I know you spent many years in the Steinbrenner regime with the Yankees. Did you ever pitch with your hair as long as DeGrom does? What was the longest you ever pitched with your hair flowing out of the back of your cap?
First of all, that wouldn't happen because George would have never let it.
I know, right?
Look at Donnie, man. Every time when I see Donnie in the dugout, he's got his glasses on, no mustache.
No mullet.
I'm like, no mullet. His hair was long, So no, heck no. I you know what, Rich? I always thought, everybody says, I want to look mean. Get out of here, man. I want to look like the 6th grader who, has got the pencil in his pocket and everybody thinks they can cheat off of, and just come at you nasty, and you look like a sweet little kid. That's what I like.
Al, you're the best. I'll check you out on MLB tonight after the Mets and Dodgers on MLB Network.
Thanks, Rich. Take care.
You bet. That's Al Leiter here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.